Most people look at eyewear and see frames. I look at eyewear and see the mind behind it, and this is someone I've been watching for a while.
You are now tuned in to the optical gallery.
If you're new to the channel, I'm Nick, creator of eyewear, lens artist and dispensing optician at the Optical Gallery. And this video is going to be a little bit different, because instead of just focusing on the frames, I want to show you the person behind them. I first came across Paris K during COVID, just sketching designs on Instagram. No big brand, just ideas. And that's when I reached out, because I wanted to create something together. We designed a collection, and even though it hasn't materialized yet, those ideas are still there, waiting for the right moment. Since then, I've watched him grow. Now he's working with some of my favorite brands, and that journey is what interests me, because most people never meet the designer. You see the product, you see the branding, but you don't see the person behind it. And that's what I'm always drawn to, understanding how they think, what drives their designs, and because every designer has a signature. And what's interesting with Paris is his ability to adapt, but still keep that same signature. You'll see it in this video. Different brands, different styles, but there's always something underneath, something that's his. And this isn't your typical designer. Some of these pieces, well, they're not for everyone. Some are wearable, some push things even further, but that's the point. He's not designing to fit in. He's designing based on what he believes in, and that takes confidence, because not everything is meant for everyone. Some of you will see these as frames. Some of you will see them as art, and that's the beauty of eyewear and the beauty of design. This isn't really an interview either. Paris is someone I class as a friend in this industry. So this is just two people with one shared passion of eyewear, walking through the brands he's worked with, because before the product, there's always a person. So instead of the studio, I met him where it all happened. MIDO, Milan. So let's go and meet Paris K. So guys, I just want to introduce you to someone that I met, I think it was around COVID time that we started working together. And me and my brothers wanted to design some eyewear, and I'd seen Paris's designs on Instagram, and I don't think you were working with anyone at that time.
Not really, no.
No. So he designed a small collection which we haven't done anything with. It is something that we want to do in the future. But since that time, Paris has worked with some of my favorite eyewear brands in designing some unique pieces. So number one, I'd introduce you to a designer that you should keep your eyes on. And number two, I just want him to take us around some of the brands to show us some of the pieces that he's designed and explain them to us. Can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. We go start by Parasite, for example. Okay. So this is one of the pieces we collaborated on with Parasite, with a brand Parasite, which you probably know already, one of your favorites. This is the piece. It works as a mask. The lenses are suspended and the design is biomorphic. It's supposed to almost look like an exoskeleton type of, design. So if you wanna, or I wear it, yeah, if you want to. Yeah. It uses the same system for holding as classic Parasite frames, and the idea was taken from there. And
where do you get your inspiration for your designs? Because I don't know another designer right now creating pieces that are just mind-blowing.
Thank you so much. From the organic, from a lot of inspiration. There's a lot of inspiration, but a bit futuristic, sci-fi. So this is the first piece we've worked with Paloceras that I worked on. It's called the Hydraceras. It's a sports style frame, so it's quite curved around. The inspiration for this was to have something in a frame that was made out of liquid but was held in time. So you have a very flowy sort of look with the negative cuts on the lens, having it very rounded, and then the little drips going further back. Just want to show you quickly this piece, which is the latest collaboration I did with Paloceras, which was the piece used in Robert Wun's SS26 Couture runway. You can imagine this as a blindfold. You have the slits there, and as well, very organic, very similar to what we did with the Hydraceras, but this time instead of it being liquid, it's more like a cloth drape in the face. So
This piece has a lot of emotion when you look at it. It's an art piece. What's your favorite brand at the moment?
personal opinion, I'm very fond of VAVA. I've always been very fond of VAVA. VAVA Eyewear.
Did you do some pieces for them in the past?
I used to work for VAVA internally as a designer, so it's always been one of the top brands for me in terms of what they offer as a product and aesthetics. And
I think it's grown in popularity, and I've seen a little bit of DNA change over the years for them.
as well, yes. Although the core, I believe, has always kept the same. What I'm going to show you for what I did for Flama, you could say has a very similar aesthetic, but in my own kind of signature.
Okay. What would you say your signature is?
I'm more into organic, but also technical when it comes to design. So I specialize in form over ornament, let's say.
And you used to be, your father, from what I know, has an optician.
Yes.
He was to work there.
Yes, I also studied as an optician. I studied design. I studied product design.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when I studied as an optician, I practiced it for a little bit. But I know I want to design, so I didn't want to just do that.
To be in more of a creative
Yeah.
environment.
So it just clicked, the two of these, and why not design eyewear? So I just started.
Okay.
So here we are, Flama. And I've designed the entire collection here. We started with designing acetate first. It's 5 shapes in acetate, and I designed this hinge where every piece of it is dismountable. So you can have this taken off, the hinge part taken off, and then the front part that connects to the front taken off. And the idea of it being that if you have something breaking in the temple, you only replace the part that broke instead of the entire piece. And same for the front. And it comes in 2 variations. This one and the fully covered one, which I'm very fond of because we made a small window on the inside for the engraving on the metal. I think it came out pretty cool. Since it's modular, you can have this temple on this design if you'd like to. If you don't like this specific design on the temple.
And this is acetate.
This is acetate.
Because most of your designs in the past, I've seen 3D printing.
Yeah.
Like you're a big advocate for 3D printing.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
to see actually an acetate made by you
Yeah.
is incredible.
You know, the aesthetic is actually quite minimalist, but what I prefer identifying with, let's say, is more brutalist. So you have all these sharp cuts and very strong form in the frames, and that expresses it. And then from that, the newest collection is the one in titanium, which are 4 shapes. And here you can see the brutalist aesthetic comes out more as you have the details that are popping out where you normally have them hidden. We've exaggerated on them, and that forms in the language of the design. It complements it, I think.
This looks very technical to manufacture.
It is very tricky to manufacture, actually. They have to mill the titanium 10 times to get all the sharp cuts and angles they need to make.
Where are they manufactured at the moment?
They're manufactured in China, in a very good factory.
There's
in
a
China.
lot of actual major brands now actually saying that they manufacture in China. Whereas that used to be looked at a negative, maybe because of the Luxottica mass produced, but actually the Chinese are producing very good quality eyewear.
No, absolutely. Especially if you know where to go and they're communicative and it's easy for you to communicate with them. They will really push for what you want to achieve.
And this doesn't feel cheap at all. This feels premium.
Yeah, it's titanium and beta titanium, so same identity for the nose pad. It's modular, so you can take this one off and have a nose pad that I'm working on right now for Asian fit.
Okay.
And then again, same idea for the temple. You can even take this temple off and put it on an acetate frame, it will work. And this is the idea of this collection and where it's expanding towards.
Nice.
Then 4 shapes on that, which that one is my favorite. With this color that we made.
Color's incredible. Is it a separate factory for the colorization?
No, they do it internally, but some of the parts they make externally because they just don't specialize in, but it's still the quality that we receive is pretty good.
This has just caught my eye over there.
Yeah.
For me, this is classic Paris K design.
You could say.
Just absolutely crazy. And 3D printed again.
Yes, yeah.
What's your thoughts on 3D? I mean, I know you're an advocate for it, but
Yeah.
I recently, on the plane here, I read Spectre magazine. And there's a whole issue about 3D printing. Is it becoming more popular right now?
You know, as you said, I'm an advocate for it, but because personally it gives me the availability to express however I actually want, and I can put all of without constraints, basically, all of what I want to put there. I know people are not really used to it yet. They've been used to the feel of acetate, which is a material that feels nice. It's colorful, it's heavy, it has weight, it ages well with time, and so on. So 3D printing, in this sense, most of the people currently they feel like this is plastic, so I'm not gonna wear it. It's not something. So they tend to look away, but I think it's picking up all the more.
Yeah, no, I definitely see a pickup. We work with Gotti, they got their Dimensions collection, and it's so wearable, it's so lightweight, the designs are really chunky, and actually the clients are loving 3D printed materials, and I'm just seeing it a lot more in eyewear right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and you also have your own personal collection that you've been designing.
Yeah, this is one of the pieces. And I would say this is very much so my style, my identity, you know. Look at this.
That's super cool.
Very edgy, very dark, but I love that.
And this is purely independent, designed, manufactured by you as well?
No, not by me, by partners that I have that do that, but yeah.
And if someone wanted to see your collection, where can they find you?
Contacting through social or by email, and I live in Valencia, but if you're there, perfect. But if not, during the exhibitions or online by catalog.
And what is your social media handle?
It's Paris K 3_. Yeah.
I'll put it at the bottom of the video. Paris, always a pleasure to see you.
Pleasure.
Have a good rest of the show, and we're going to keep in touch always.